Hello everybody and welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay. I am the Outback Owl.
I'm Yin&Jung.
I'm Chibi Noob.
I'm Envy Jitters.
I'm CheerandCosplay.
And I'm Kozi.
And we're back with the Elite Eight of the Collect Them All Showdown. We're finally in the quarterfinals. We've gone through all the preliminaries, and this week we're going right on back to the... what was this category? Action figures? Yeah.
Yes.
And we got Zoids versus Black Rock Shooter. So, I mean, I don't think we need to like reintroduce these shows too much since we already like talked about them a little bit. So, do we just want to get into like the meat and potatoes, or
yeah, kind of what happened these next 3 episodes?
Yeah. So we watched 4 through 6. Which do we want to start with? Zoids?
Sure.
Yeah.
So
it's the top bracket.
Yeah, so Zoids, when we left off, they were off in the desert, running around with their giant mechanical robot liger creature, and their little baby Zeke, dinosaur boy, littlest boy. And yeah, they were looking for adventure, and now they're finding it because they're meeting more people, and all sorts of stuff is happening. Irvine, the guy from before with the eye patch, that's not an eye patch, he shows up again and again and again, and at this point he should just like start traveling with them, because honestly he just keeps running into them no matter what. And they're trying to get into the protection racket a little bit. They're trying to find a purpose for things to do, and yeah, maybe being a mercenary of some kind could be a good one. And they meet a trucker who drives a snail, and she's hauling cargo for... we're actually starting to get a little bit into the political machinations of this world, where we have like an empire. We're going to assume, since they use the word empire, it's an evil empire, and then the other people who are not part of that empire fighting back and forth a little bit, or at least we get to hear a little bit about that. There's, I don't know, stuff going on, and people are fighting in their giant robots, and we're getting new robots introduced every other episode, more or less, and we're looking up to create a plot somewhere where I'm assuming we're going to go towards, we're going to choose a side in this conflict kind of thing. Yeah. Did I miss anything? I probably missed a lot.
No, I think that's the very bare bones of it.
That is, yeah. Beyond that, it's character stuff that's, you know...
Oh, I mean, okay, the protection thing was in regards to, like, a village.
Right. Yeah. They had water, and other people wanted water, but also just... God, what was the conflict there?
I think they said
no, they were after
bandits.
Zeke. They were after Zeke.
Yeah.
Again. Everyone's after Zeke. Why are they after Zeke? I mean, he's best boy, sure, but... You know, we gotta figure out...
Organoid.
I know, I guess you can say that Zeke is, that show's Pikachu, and those bounty hunters are Team Rocket.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so who's actually in the lead here?
Lead is you. Thanks for speaking up.
Oh, boy.
For plot. What did you think of the plot?
I really did not like the episodic nature that it's kind of devolved into. Like, there were a few moments where it was just kind of, like, silly little plot things that, like, make you giggle, like when Irvine ran into them in episode 5, and he's like, imagine seeing you here, even though they left from the same place. But, like, overall, like, they're supposed to be, like, looking for Zoid Eve, but, like, we don't really have a reason for what's-his-name to actually be escorting Fiona in looking for Zoid Eve, because it seems like he doesn't even like her half the time.
Yeah.
And I'm also now very confused on how the Zoids actually work, because it seems like some Zoids have, like, their own mind, and, like, obviously there are wild Zoids, but then, like, the shield liger and, like, Irvine's Zoid, there's no brain in them. They just don't move if they're not being piloted. And, like, that confuses me. I don't understand the rules for which Zoids have sentience and which don't, and why. So I'm kind of a light nay here.
I actually did look that up, if you want me to explain that later.
Sure.
Yeah. Meantime, though, I'm kind of a light yay here. I kind of enjoyed that we're gonna start dealing with a plot, and then we have some recurring villain characters, and now we're finally like starting to round out. I mean, this is a little bit character element, but it kind of has to do with the plot in that, you know, we're starting to move towards an actual what's the big deal with what's going on. And, like, right now it is a little bit episodic, but we're starting to slowly form an idea of what the characters in the group are going to be doing moving forward. They're going to be getting into more fights. They're going to be seeing more Zoids and stuff and all sorts of different things. And I'm at least excited to see, you know, what's next, because now it actually feels like it is moving towards something. I did not remember in the previous 3 episodes whether they ever mentioned this Zoid Eve thing. I have no idea what it was, so I'm like, okay, that's very nebulous, but still, at least feels like we're going towards something.
Yeah, I guess I would agree that it feels like it's going towards something, but I suppose I don't like how nebulous it was. I don't know, I didn't have a clear understanding, kind of like what Kozi said, about what's going on with the Zoids or how they operate, and I don't know. I think I kind of... It made it easier to zone out and not care very much. So I guess overall I would give it kind of a light nay.
So I don't really have a whole lot of opinions on these episodes, like, one way or the other as far as plot is concerned, because it kind of just feels like, while things are happening, nothing is happening. Yeah, we get introduced to a new character. I forget what her name is, but
Moonbay?
Moonbay! Yeah.
Weird name.
We'll talk about her more in characters, but, like, honestly, when I was watching these episodes, like, if it weren't for the title cards, I wouldn't have known an episode had ended and then a new one had started. Like, that was sort of how much, like, I was engaged in, like, sort of keeping up with what was going on, because it didn't really feel like there's a whole lot of difference. Because, yeah, it does feel a lot like Pokemon. So, I'm also kind of a light nay here. Yeah.
My thoughts are pretty much the exact same as Chibi's, except I will give it a light mat over a light nay. I didn't hate my time watching it. It wasn't painful, but it was just kind of there. It didn't really leave an impact on me. Although I will say, it was interesting at least to see a little bit of the Republic people, and, you know, a little bit of the world building in that aspect. But yeah, like Chibi was saying, it was like things happened, but also didn't happen at the same time. A paradox, if you will.
Yeah, I'm also gonna give it a light nay, because, like, while I agree with you that it feels like it's going somewhere, it has a destination, we don't really know enough about it yet. Like, we don't know what Zoid Eve is. Is it a person? Is it a thing? Don't know what it looks like. Don't know what it does.
I think Elle was referring to them, like, joining up with the rebellion.
Still. Like, if Zoid Eve is the end goal, that's kind of how I'm saying it. We don't know enough about what it is. It just feels like they're kind of aimlessly wandering the desert, hoping they'll find somebody who can give them clues. I don't think that's enough. I guess I'll put this here. I thought it was... no, I'll save it for characters. Never mind.
Speaking of, I think I'm leading us into that. Anyone have any other things to say about the plot?
No.
Quick, everyone write down your answer in case we need to refer to it.
Yeah, no, honestly, you guys should do that, but, you know, I won't complain if you don't. Anyway, characters, I'm a meh here. It was kind of like, I don't think we're learning a whole lot extra of anything. Like, we established them last time, and that's great. Now's your time to expand on them and get me to like them a little bit more, and so far, Van is just white bread, and Fiona is smooth brain, nothing going on there, and hasn't really changed much in the last. Zeke's still great because he's mostly just a giant metal dog. But outside of that, we got Irvine, who, I don't know, I get what his trope is, but he's just like not doing anything interesting. And then Moonbay's there, and she's mostly just tone deaf, but, you know, I guess she has some stuff going on. She's moving things along a little bit because she actually has something that she wants to do. But at the same time, she's just another person. Again, no one's doing anything like bad or wrong in any way, but also no one's particularly interesting. Except I will give the one guy who was riding around in the red Triceratops. How does he maintain that hair color in the desert? That was what I was wondering the whole time. Like, he's got a salon somewhere that is, like, doing it weekly, I have to imagine. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of interesting stuff around. Maybe it'd be more interesting if we were following the villains a little bit more. But, yeah, so I'm just kind of a meh.
Yeah, my thoughts on the characters aren't really much different than they were the last time we watched Zoids. I think Zeke is still the most fun character to watch. Moonbay was fine, but I don't know. It's kind of just like the other characters. For the most part, they are just kind of there. I don't have any extreme dislike or extreme like for any of them, except that one girl that's pretty annoying that hangs around. What's her name?
Fiona?
Yeah.
She's like her. Opposite of like Shrek Fiona.
Where she's really irritating. But other than her, everybody's just in a very neutral territory. So I would say pretty meh.
Yeah, I'm also very meh on the characters. I was hoping with Moonbay, like, she would, make things a little more exciting. But I'm kind of just also still very neutral on a lot of things. Again, we stand the dinosaur. So, yeah.
It's hard to go wrong with the dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I mean, Zeke's best boy. We've all established that because you're right. He is basically a giant dog. I didn't mind Moonbay. I kind of liked her attitude a little bit, but yeah, I really am not into Fiona or Van very much. Irvine, I'm more entertained by what Al mentioned earlier of the fact that, we just happen to run into each other, even though you're meeting each other literally every episode. So it's basically a common occurrence at this point, rather than, him as an actual character. Well, so yeah, it's kind of a meh.
They left from the same village, presumably heading in the same direction. He was just like, whoa, fancy meeting you out here.
He's starting to remind me of, like, Sosuke in early Full Metal Panic, where every time he runs into the girl, he's like, it's just a coincidence.
No, Sosuke's too cool for Irvine.
I'm gonna give characters meh. You are all wrong. Moonbay is pretty dope, and she has a cool name.
I didn't say she was bad.
I don't think any of us have said anyone's bad. They're very meh.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean bad. It also doesn't mean good.
She's cool. She's a cool person. Her dialogue is kind of stilted sometimes, and I'm just gonna chalk that up to being a trucker and not being around people often. Irvine really pissed me off because he made this huge deal. He was like, I'm this village protector. They only need one protector, and it's me. I'm keeping all these pores safe.
He was being paid to do that.
Yeah, he didn't want to share the payday.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He wasn't doing it out of the goodness of his heart.
Okay, I was kind of in and out during these episodes.
Yeah, he was trying to defend his paycheck.
I was like, why was he so adamant that, like, nobody could help him? And then the next episode he leaves. I'm like,
because they said the bandits only attacked, like, on a specific day every time.
Which is honestly a very bad, like, idea. If you're going to, like, try to raid someone, don't do it on a schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was there for the day they were gonna attack. And
do they hire a new bodyguard every time?
If someone passes by.
Efficient. Okay, I thought this was, like, a full-time thing.
Yeah, no, like, it makes a little more sense when you take it out of that context.
Yeah. Alright, that's fine. I did think it was funny when he was in jail and he was like, of course you guys are here too. Why is he not just part of the team at this point? They're going everywhere.
I said the exact same thing. At a certain point, he'd just be like, I'm gonna run into you anyway.
Yeah, they might as well.
Moonbay can't know he likes her. I guess I'm also just gonna give it a meh. Like, I was really still leaning towards, like, a light nay. But I will give credit to the fact I think they definitely developed more of a personality for Zeke in these 3 episodes. Because, like, MacGuffin. He was kind of like a MacGuffin beforehand. But now, like, you know, like, he's like his own Zoid. And he has, like, thoughts and opinions. And he won't let Van force him to do what he doesn't want to do. And it definitely feels like he's only there for Fiona, kind of. But, like, Fiona and Van, just bad characters. They're really annoying. I do like, and I think you might have brought this up, Al, but Irvine really looks like a Naruto character. Like, he would fit right in.
I don't know about Naruto entirely. I was thinking more like maybe he should have been like some other character in a Gundam anime, maybe. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Or maybe Trigun, like something else from the 90s. You know what I mean?
Oh, Trigun.
Yeah, it works with the desert aesthetic as well.
No, it's just something about, like, his face and his hairstyle gives me Naruto. I did like the rapport they kind of set up with him in Moonbay. But then they introduced Moonbay and, like, her whole thing was, like, about how she's this great, amazing, like, transport service, and she's never lost any cargo, and she's really proud of that, and she'll do anything to get the job done. And then by the end of the episode, she purposefully blew up the cargo. I'm like, you can't establish her as a character as someone who's going to always get the job done no matter what. And then be like, oh, but she has a bleeding heart for the kids, so then she blew it up. Like, you're completely dismantling everything you just set up for her.
Can I throw out there, just as a possibility, that her reputation, at least publicly, might not have been tarnished by that? Because I'm pretty sure she was on some sort of secret mission, you know, putting the munitions across, like, enemy borders kind of thing. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of public records of that. So as far as everyone else who might hire is concerned, she's still got a perfect record.
I don't know if she would necessarily care about her, like, publicity. She was proud of the fact that she had never lost anything.
Officially.
No. They made a bad choice there.
Yeah, maybe.
But I'll give it a meh just to match everyone else. Give it a, like, meh sweep.
Why, do you really want to give it a light nay or a full-on nay? You can if you want. It's not like these points matter just yet.
No, I'll give it a meh.
Okay.
I'll be a sheep.
Alright. I'm trying to find a segue there, but we didn't see any sheep Zoids. Yin, you want to take us into advertising?
I think overall, the advertising remains fairly solid. It's kind of hard because I don't feel like it's much different than it was the other time that we watched it. And I feel like last time I probably gave it like a light yay. I feel like overall it still does a pretty good job of making me like, oh, I can be attached to characters like Zeke and, you know, want to own this little toy or figure. But at the same time, I don't know. Like, I think the dinosaur aspect is still pretty exciting, but I think the Zoids have become a little bit more confusing as it goes on, to the point where it's like, I don't know if it's like as straightforward, which I think is I was already a little bit confused by the Zoids in the beginning. Like, I don't know how they are born or whatever. Like, Zoids are a little confusing to me in general, but I feel like sometimes with advertising, it's better when it's very straightforward, like Pokemon and stuff like that. So I think it became slightly convoluted, and for that reason, instead of a light yay, I'd say maybe I'll give it like a meh right now.
I will also give it like somewhere between a light nay and a meh. Only because, like, I feel like and I'm gonna echo Yin on this because I also feel the same way. Like, I feel like last time we watched this, I was a lot more enthusiastic about the Zoids themselves. Now, because it's, like, less about the Zoids and more about Van and Fiona and whatever's going on with them, like, the only character that I am even really, like, concerned about, like, for advertising is Zeke. And, because, again, if it was, like, me and my brother when we were kids, like, my brother already had, like, again, that remote-controlled dinosaur toy, so that would probably have definitely been something on the Christmas list that year. But I just feel that everything else is a little lackluster. I don't know. I will say it's more that I feel like they're not focusing too much on, like, showcasing the Zoids at this point. They're more focused on the story, and I guess that's good because it's a show, but at the same time, it's like, I want to see more things. So, what would be the rating between a light nay and a meh? Would it be a low meh?
I thought the
Low
only
meh.
reason
Hard meh.
I thought the only reason we started going with light yays and nays is because we couldn't decide between mehs.
Yeah,
No.
I feel like it is the in-between.
What's an in
Well,
between
now
of
we
an
need
in
more
between?
in between.
Even more in
No,
between.
no in between. You're either a nay, a meh, or in between.
Low meh. Very low meh.
So like
Low
hard
meh.
meh.
I could go for some low meh right now, you know? Maybe with some
Me
chicken.
too. I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Like, yeah, obviously everyone's going to say, you know, Zeke's cool, and they would totally get a Zeke doll. I would totally get a Zeke figure if I was a young kid. The other Zoids, I mean, I guess they would be cool if you would see them in real life, but I guess the problem for me, looking at it as a 28-year-old adult, the fighting in the show, and I guess this goes more into production, but the fighting in the show that's supposed to advertise the toys really and make you think, wow, I gotta see these, I gotta get this in real life. They're not that impressive to me, so that kind of dampens the advertising a little bit. Granted, as a kid, I've seen shows that, looking back on it, probably weren't that impressive animated wise, but I don't know, I'm kind of a meh too. I could see kids maybe when they're younger wanting to, you know, pretend that they're fighting the Zoids with each other and blow shit up, but as an adult, I'm kind of like, this is okay, I guess. Like, nothing really stands out. Nothing makes me want to say, wow, this is good advertising.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with a meh on this one. Kind of like how Chipu was saying, I feel like it didn't show us enough of the Zoids. We didn't see too many new ones, and it didn't, like, clear up how they worked at all. It just gave us more questions. I don't think it did anything more effectively than last time.
Okay, I'm actually gonna give it like a full nay here. I feel like even though they gave Zeke more characterization, as a Zoid, he now feels like kinda lackluster, like one-trick pony. Like, he's involved in the battles, but you don't see him because he's in the shield liger. And I feel like at this point they should have been drumming up more interest for the other action figures. But like the bird one had a potential to be really cool, but like they just didn't showcase it well. So it was kind of like, oh, it has a hook. What does the hook do? Who knows? It never hit. And, like, obviously they probably wanted people to, like, buy the red Triceratops because it was bright fucking red, but, like, it seemed so lame because it went down so easy. In the shield liger itself, I feel like the design is cool, but there's just nothing there because Van kind of sucks as a pilot. So they had, like, a really good base to go off of, I think. But, like, I feel like even if you were really attached to Zeke as a character, as the series goes on, like, as, like, an action figure, he looks less and less attractive because he can't really battle by himself. Also, with him actively, like, making trouble in the form of not listening to Van, I feel like that could definitely turn a lot of people off of him. Which, by the way, Envy, I would argue that's cat behavior. So, yeah, like, I think they actively kind of damaged their advertising with these 3 episodes.
Believe me, there's dogs that are stubborn that don't listen to you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like the snobbish, like, turn up the nose kind of behavior.
Yeah, I've
I
never
know
owned a
what you're
cat,
asking
so...
me, but I'm going to choose not to do it.
Like, I see the cup on the edge of the table, you telling me no, but I'm gonna hit it anyways.
Yeah, I hate to be the opposite of everybody. I was a yay here. I thought, like, we got cool new Zoids, man. Every episode's a new Zoid coming out. We got a thing showcasing the scorpions, and then, yeah, we had the dragon thing, and then the Triceratops thing, and then in the last one, oh, we also got the snail thing, and then they're fighting all over the place. We figured out they could double jump by jumping off each other's backs. Stupid, and it shouldn't work from a physics standpoint, but okay. I'll go with it.
What I am getting out of this entire tournament is that you are very easily swayed by collectibles.
Why do you think I suggested this tournament? It's like you're just realizing this 8 weeks in.
No one accused me of being smart.
Yeah. Well, no. But yeah, I mean, part of this might be like I'm a little biased here because I did own some of these, like the blue pterodactyl one that was in the 6th episode. That was one of the first ones that I actually had, so I was like, I had a little moment there. But you know, looking back, I am seeing your points here, but I still think it's pretty cool. And like as a kid, I was also looking at it and being like, yeah, no, I want that one, and I want that one, and I want that one. And obviously, I didn't have any money as a kid, so it was like, I'm not gonna get all of them. So it's but still, I think it's a yay for me personally. So moving on, production. Chibi, I think you're starting us off.
Yes, I am. Honestly, production is still very much the same. For the time that it came out at, aside from, like, the very jarring CGI, like, I still say it's, like, passable. The song gets me hyped up for some reason. I don't know why. So, I feel like I'm, like, sort of, like, maybe a light yay on production. So, I'm sorry if my brain sounds very scattered right now.
We do these late.
It's been, yes.
At this point, we have to assume that you're not always going to be 100% during some of these.
No, I wake up too early.
You're here.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're here, you're family.
Yes.
Or what was it?
When you're here, you're here.
Olive Garden. When you're here, you're here.
You see, it's kind of weird because this was made in 1999, or at least that's when it first came out in Japan. So I got to keep in mind, that the animation and the CGI is, well, based off of 1999 anime standards, which there's anime that come out today that have shit CGI. But yet again, it's still not good CGI, and even the action, even if it was 2D, I felt kind of flat to me. It just felt kind of barren. Or not barren, but kind of just felt like lifeless. Like it just kind of... And again, this isn't an attack against the animators. I'm sure they did the best they could given what the budget they had, but it just felt kind of lifeless to me. Like it just kind of... I didn't feel a lot of oomph to it. I mean... I will admit the chase with the robot scorpions at the end was pretty cool. I'll give it that. But other than that, yeah, I kind of was just there for the action. Just, okay, it's getting from one set piece to the next for me. And I know that seems kind of harsh, but that's just kind of how I felt. I mean, the regular 2D animation was fine for the time period. But yeah, I guess I'm kind of a light nay with the production. The voice cast does a decent job. Dub-wise, but yeah.
I think I'm a meh on this. It's gonna be mez across the board. I have no feelings towards this whatsoever.
Fair.
Is that it?
Yeah, the end.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go like a super hard nay here.
Okay.
First, Al, I don't know if you noticed, but episode 6 that you shared,
The Japanese.
it was like half in Japanese.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Do you want to know what was going on there?
I think I have a theory.
Go ahead, because I think this also happened with the first 3 episodes.
Oh.
So the parts that were in Japanese, they always had a gun pointed on the kid.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
that
I'm
was
pretty sure they just cut those in the dub and then they added them back in.
Yeah, there was a
Oh.
similar thing in episode 2 last time that we were doing this, where I think it was when Van was tied up or something, and I think they just cut the scene down a little bit, probably just to make it go faster. But yeah, there were a couple spots that were in Japanese there, and it was kind of like... But you can kind of see where they switch back to English, where it's like, okay, had you cut from the last English spot to the next English spot, like I could see that cut being made and not changing too much of the scene.
It was just like hilarious. I was not expecting it.
Oh, no,
it took
yeah,
me the
no.
fuck out.
The first time that me and Yin watched it in episode 2, we were like, okay,
It was
what
so
happened?
shocking.
Did we? And then it suddenly switched back, and we're like, oh, okay, I think I know what happened.
And then we saw the pattern eventually.
Yeah.
It was hilarious because like it happened when the guard first approached them, and then Moonbay was talking to the guard. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's like the Imperial language or whatever, and then they switched back to English. I'm like, oh no, that was censorship.
Yeah. Did you not notice that also happened like earlier, whenever they first like captured them? Because like the commander guy was
in episode
also
6.
Yeah. Like it happened a
Between
couple
Van and,
times.
Van and the commander, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. I was like trying to remember. Did that happen in episode 5? Like, am I crazy? I don't know. Blends a
So
little
like
bit.
that's really wild just on a production standpoint. Whoever like recut that episode, like props to them, but also like fuck them because they didn't even add in the subtitles.
Yeah, no, that could have been helpful.
Half the time Fiona looked like she was drawn in MS Paint. Like full stop. Like it definitely looked like graphic design is my passion.
Okay, that's fair.
The red-haired guy in episode 4,
Oh, the guy who's
I-
going to the
I
salon every
think-
week?
I think they meant for it to look like his hair was frizzy, but it just looked like they hadn't colored his hair in all of the way by having like just black lines coming out of it, still following like the curl of his hair. And then like fucking hell, the dub and lip flapping was so bad. It was so bad. Like episode 4 at the end of it, like the 30-second Moonbay.
I think that was episode 5, but yeah.
It was just like the stilted conversations. I don't think that was her being like a trucker. It was just they did a really bad job like translating it and putting it into like a dialogue that made sense for the lip flaps.
Oh, I know. I'm just like giving it to her because I like her.
LMAO. And like I don't have as much of a problem with the CG, but like the actual animation is kind of ugly on its own. And besides the opening, I feel like they don't really utilize any like scores to really like keep you like invested and like in the moment and feeling like something's like really intense when it's supposed to. Okay, also I will say the part about the CG that looks super bad is whenever the Zoids like fall over, they like ragdoll, but not ragdoll. Like they go into their T-pose and then ragdoll.
Rigor mortis.
Rigor mortis, sure. I don't know. It's just like a lot of things compounding in on each other. It's like, no.
Okay, well, I was kind of a meh here. I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit because it's got like, oh, this was okay, or this was not okay, or this was yeah, the dub is not great. I think part of it does come down to like, oh, we couldn't really find good words to hit with the lip flaps, but I think the animation itself has like some weird pause areas where it's like, I don't know if something was missing or something was supposed to happen, they just didn't put it in. it's a little difficult there. The CGI is not terrible to me, and I think the fact that they do separate the scenes that are mostly CGI and the scenes that are mostly 2D apart from each other for the most part, I think helps a lot. It would probably be looking at this a lot worse if I was seeing tons of like 2D on CG scenes, but a lot of it's relegated to the Zoids are fighting or the people are talking, and you know, the two don't meet that often, so it helps it a little bit. As far as like the score goes, I actually have had Chibi in my head. I've been having that like acoustic guitar riff they have at the end of every fight playing.
Yes.
And I don't know why. Like Kozi was saying, like there's no like soundtrack that they're using. I'm like, I have had that in my head all week. I don't know how you don't.
Listen,
I can't remember it.
the ending, that little like guitar riff they have going, like for the end credits, I'm like,
it gets
like,
in there too.
in my head the entire time.
That sounds annoying.
I'm like, I don't know. For me, I'm just kind of like, oh, good. This is the
Like,
kind of music I was into in middle school. This
like
is great.
it's pleasant. It's not a bad thing that it's stuck in my head, but it's also like, huh, okay. But it's I think it's decent enough. I think they're doing enough that I don't want to give them an A, but they're not doing enough that I want to give them a yay. So I'll give them an A.
So you said guitar riff at the end, and now I can only think of the JoJo one.
I know.
Oh.
No, not at the end of the episode. I'm not talking about the ending. Like the end of every fight, it's like a do 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 or something like that. And yeah, it's not do 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 do. You know, I don't want to get copyright. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't have much to add that you guys didn't already say, but I would consider it pretty much a meh as well. That's about it.
Okay, Envy, why don't you take us into final thoughts?
It's not the worst thing I've ever seen on this channel for this podcast, but I'd be lying if I said that if I was enthused to see any more, if this would move on. Again, I'm not saying I hate it. I'm sure, you know, if you watched as a kid back in the day and you have fond memories of it, more power to you, but this show kind of just isn't doing anything for me. It's just kind of there. So it's just kind of it's like milquetoast meh.
During the third episode, I was really proud of myself for not falling asleep. Remember the end credits going, and I was like, yes, I did it! I stayed awake through the whole thing, and the next thing I know, Kozi is waking me up from a very deep sleep. So it didn't put me to sleep, but it came very close. Yeah, I'd give a light nay. Only a light, because I hope to see some cool robots in the future.
I have been really negative, but I would probably just give it a meh. Like, I know Zoids knows what they're doing, so I'm sure as it goes, it can get better. I think these 3 episodes were a very poor showing of what the show was, and again, I really lend a lot of that to maybe its episodicness. I feel like if they still had, like, the overarching story, like, that was intricately connected, like 1 and 2, it would have been a little bit better. Or if they had had like a compelling story, like in episode 3. But all 3 of these episodes were just kind of like devoid of that. So like, I don't actively want to watch more, but I think if we did, it would still have an okay chance at maybe like wowing us a bit more. Overall, just like entirely meh.
Honestly, I'm kind of going to give it a light yay, and a lot of that is kind of like to what you're saying, that I feel like the plot is going to go somewhere, so I am interested in seeing where it goes. I like seeing the different robots, the different Zoids, the different animals that they're going to use, and that sort of stuff. This is not wowing me in any way. Like, it's not going like crazy great or anything like that, as I was saying throughout most of this. At the same time, I feel like, especially where we left off at the end of 6, we're going to make a deal with these. I'm assuming they're the rebel side of this war against the Empire and that. So I feel like the next episodes are going to go somewhere and be more interesting than what we've seen. and that I would probably be a meh otherwise, but I think for that reason, I'm going to go a light yay and hope that we get to see them actually do something more interesting than what they did today. And I know that's kind of a weird, like, I'm banking on this getting good all of a sudden, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Overall, I'd probably give it a light nay to a meh, probably more leaning towards light nay. I definitely liked the first 3 episodes more than these 3 episodes. I felt that it became a little bit boring and kind of just episodic and samey. And there was less of a focus on the Zoids themselves, and I don't really find the human characters very interesting at all. So I just found that it kind of went downhill a bit, so I'd probably give it a light nay.
I'm gonna give it a meh, if I'm gonna be honest. I liked the first 3 episodes a lot more, like everyone else has been saying, and I'm not gonna repeat a whole lot. It's just, I feel whatever it had going on for the first 3 episodes, it kinda just dropped the ball.
Okay. So that's Zoids. We move on to the competitor, Black Rock Shooter. What the fuck happened in Black Rock Shooter?
So much plot, so little time.
So here, well. Okay, first off, before we say anything else, kudos to Yin. You did call it. The other world was real, and it was not a metaphor.
I told you, they're connected. It's just an alternate universe.
Yeah. But now we have to make that make sense. So, and that's... Yeah, sorry, I don't want to get into criticism just yet.
I mean, I feel like they did a good job explaining it.
Okay, so... Everyone's depressed. Everyone has anxiety. Everyone's got...
Is this about the show?
Yes. I'll mention that. I'm going to say this. So I'll just preface... I'm going to preface everything by saying this. I think this is actually aged so... This is like an 11-year-old show at this point, but I think it predicted today so well. Everyone has a mental illness. Half the population is living vicariously through an anonymous alternate world where they're very aggressive and attack one another. An entire classroom of people is simping over an asshole. And who I'm assuming is the villain at this point, is taking Gaslight Gatekeep Girl Boss to a whole new level, especially with the Gaslight element, because there's people who don't even remember their own lives at this point.
Yeah, so essentially, there's another world. You have a doppelganger in that world who takes on all of your negative emotions, so
Twitter.
You don't have to feel them. And when they die,
You're
you
healed.
forget. Yeah, no, you're not healed. You forget what caused you, like the pain, the anger, whatever negative emotion it was you were feeling. So with the red-haired girl, she forgot the guy who rejected her. With Blondie, she forgot everything she did to girl with glasses. I cannot remember any of their names right now.
Yeah, but we know who you're talking about. You're good.
So Blondie's doing really well at school, and girl with glasses is really sad because Blondie doesn't need her anymore, and Mato has another friend, so she feels useless, and surprise, the counselor is the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells her she's useless. So then
She doesn't even
Black
like
Rock-
coffee.
Yeah. Black Rock Shooter started fighting Deathhanger in the other world, and then we find out Mato's friend Yu is somehow involved in this, and knew the counselor somehow when they were younger. The counselor, tricked Mato into killing Deathhanger, so now Glasses Girl has forgotten about Mato.
Yeah.
And she went crazy because of it.
Wait, did she forget... Wait, who's Mato?
Mato's the main girl.
The main character.
I thought she forgot... I thought she
No.
went crazy because... Oh, wait, Mato went crazy because Glasses Girl forgot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
we need better indicators of who
she
everyone
was
is.
trying to stop the Glasses Girl from being killed in the alternate reality.
Yeah.
But when she got there, she was too late, and her alternate Blackrock had already killed Deathhanger.
Yeah.
And then in the 6th episode, or the 3rd episode we watched, episode 6, we find out the backstory of the guidance counselor, and we find out that while she is a total bitch for, being a guidance counselor, she also has a tragic past as well. So, no one is...
I would argue it's not that tragic.
Sorry, I just like the context of what you're saying is like, she's a bitch because she's a guidance counselor.
Well...
All guidance counselors are bitches. Quote, Envy Jitters, 2023.
Okay, so her whole backstory is, you actually grew up in, a super abusive home, and she didn't have any friends in school because of it and was bullied. So the guidance counselor's like, I'll be your friend. But then she thought you set fire to her own house. So you's like, we're not gonna be friends anymore then. So out of guilt, the guidance counselor is now destroying other young girls to make her feel better.
But through the use of an alternate reality person that murders your traumatic memories.
See, I have to be a little bit careful because I know what the actual ultimate reason is she's doing it, but I don't think they revealed that yet.
Cool. Or not cool. I don't know. I'm not sure.
So, I just have to be a little bit careful here.
Have we covered everything? I'm not sure.
Yes. I think that's everything.
Okay.
At least the very basics of everything.
Basic. Right. That's not a word I'd use to describe this. Cece, why don't you go into plot?
Plot. I like the plot. I mean, like you were saying before, everybody's depressed, everybody's anxious. I'm like, this is a mood, man. I like being here in this world.
If only you could murder your feelings so easy.
I know. I'm gonna give this one a yay. This one held my attention, and I want to know more about how the other world is connected to this world, and why Yu is somehow both Mato and Saya's childhood friends.
I mean, half them forget, so...
But she still looks like she's 13 or whatever.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a light yay. There was a lot going on, and it was very fast-paced. I do think they did a decent enough job of, explaining stuff as it was happening. But again, there was so much they gave you in these 3 episodes that, if your attention veered even a little bit, you probably missed something important. So, I think the plot was well done, but they could have done with, a bit of a pacing change.
Maybe it's because they were limited to 8 episodes.
That's possible.
Which, if this moves on, will be an issue.
I think I might have an elegant solution to that, maybe, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. As far as plot goes for me, I'm kind of a meh here. I think I may have had some of that issue that you're talking about, Kozi, where I may have slipped my attention for a moment, missed something, so yeah. I feel like I made some comments about this show being one of those shows that's has a fan base that has some dialogue along lines of, if you didn't like it, then you didn't watch it right. And I feel like those shows, and I feel like this show, at some point, this is somewhat predictive, and I don't know. Did you ever have a show kind of be like an Ouroboros, where the snake eats its own tail? Where it's you set up some really cool stuff, but then you try to explain it, and you end up, kind of consuming yourself, and it all sort of falls apart.
I've had shows like that.
I don't know why.
I don't want to say, you're watching it wrong. I really just think, every little thing they said meant something in these episodes. So,
Okay.
if there was any point where, you were distracted, you were checking your phone, you went to take a toilet break without pausing, you missed something.
Possibly. I just don't know. I don't know. I feel like this might be a show that whenever it fully explains what happens, because we got an explanation. It's an alternate world. but also, how does it exist? How do we connect to it? How does any of this fucking work? Is where I'm coming at, mostly. And I really feel like whatever explanation they're going to have is not going to do it. And I feel like it's going to try to rely on, like, the rule of cool. Like, if it's cool enough, people won't question it. But I don't think that this show is there for me, so I'm very much going to question it. And, like, again, it's interesting, but it's also given me a lot of questions that I feel like I am definitely not going to get a satisfying answer for this. And it's just going to, like, tell me, hey, deal with it. And I'm going to kind of be like, on that. So I'm kind of in the middle right now as a meh.
I would say this show definitely held my attention, and I felt engaged while watching through the plot. I feel like things are always happening. There's a lot of drama, which I enjoy. So I really liked these episodes. At the same time, I do get some of the sense of what Al's talking about. I feel like sometimes it is trying to be a lot deeper than it really is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like it thinks it's deeper than I believe it is. Like, it's saying a lot, but not saying very much. And that can be a little irritating to me. I feel like it's a bit of, like, Madoka Light. I feel like Madoka is the better version of this show.
It's Hot Topic Madoka.
A little bit, it's like a slightly more emo version of Madoka Magica, and I would just rather be watching Madoka Magica overall. But I think it has its merits. Like I said, I was fully engaged in this show. I think the visuals are still really interesting, but that's more a different category. But I still found myself really enjoying this as it went along, even though I had my critiques. So I would still give the plot overall a light yay, but I also still have those other thoughts in the back of my mind, so it can't be a full yay. But I thought it was pretty enjoyable, 3 episodes.
So, a lot of the different plot elements of this are fine. I feel like this show, given the time constraints that it has, given the fact that it's only 8 episodes, definitely detract from that, because some of these are, like, kind of heavier topics that I feel like could get a lot more discussion if they had like, way more time to work with and expanding it. Because I feel like the show is more or less condensed. And I feel like maybe if this were to have been given like a full season, that like it wouldn't feel like so much is happening all at once. But overall, I would say I would give this mostly just a meh, mostly just for the pacing, because this could be really, really good. I just feel like it's not giving itself the time to do it.
I'd say overall, I'm a yay. I did follow along with the story well for these 3 episodes, and I kind of called that I both kind of called and kind of didn't call the whole alternate universe was a real alternate universe. I kind of like the idea better personally of it all being in their heads. Basically, these characters are a mental representation of their anguish rather than, oh, it's actually really connected to them, because obviously there's symbolism in the show and meanings and themes and all that stuff, and it's both subtle and not subtle at the same time to me. So I kind of felt like if it would have been all in their heads, it would have been even more profound to me personally, but I still enjoyed it. And episode 6 I thought was, well, it doesn't, fully forgive. In fact, it doesn't really forgive the guidance counselor at all. At least gives something from her perspective to say that it's, she's not just pure evil or psychotic. So yeah, for these 3 episodes, I'd give the plot a yay.
Okie dokie. Let's move on into characters. Kozi, why don't you take us into that?
So, like, I think they did a good job with, like, their characterization. I just kind of didn't like it. Like, it's purely, like, a personal preference kind of thing. I do like that they finally, like, gave out half of the alternates' names, so I did not have to sit there and struggle to remember them. I do also like that they gave Blackrock Shooter, like, her own personality now. Because she's gone insane, so she's just fucking psychotic. But, like, Glasses Girl, like, I understand she had a lot of, like, trauma and stuff, and then to go from, like, someone needing you all of the time and you can't have a life outside of them to, like, being given that freedom and, like, having to share them with someone else then could probably be, like, really mentally straining when you aren't going to therapy to address any of the issues you had. And they obviously had set it up a little bit in episode 3 that she was jealous of you. But I feel like the full-on psychotic break she had over it was just a little exaggerated. And I get that they're, like, implying that the counselor, like, really pushed her to it, but again, I think it's an issue of, like, pacing. I think if this would have been, like, a little bit more drawn out, it would have worked a lot better for her character, but it just felt so rushed.
It was like when Daenerys went insane and
Oh, it's not. I feel you, but
too rushed.
It's not.
Because, like, what ultimately broke her wasn't the blonde girl. It was Mato. So, she hadn't even known her that long.
Yeah, it's only been a few weeks, right?
I feel like I brought that up last time.
This is like Love is Blind. They're like, I love you, you're my best friend. I'm like, you've known each other 8 days.
We both like this book about a gay bird.
Oh, like, so this honestly kind of reminds me of, like, just some, like, other, like, shows or movies that have, like, the same sort of topics where it's, like, they become so attached to the one person, and it's just kind of, like, the feelings are almost sort of, like, somewhat platonic, somewhat romantic, and you can't really distinguish between the two, and it's just kind of, like...
And we're gonna leave it ambiguous for all the audience to ship over.
Yeah, and it's gonna be, like, essentially, you are just, like, so codependent and attached to this person that them showing anyone else, like, even a modicum of attention is just kind of like they're abandoning you all at once, even when they're not.
What the fuck was that Thai drama? Together, whatever the second season of Together.
Yeah.
Fuck me running. That sucked.
I think Mato's made a lot more sense. Like, she had focused, like, all of her time and energy into saving the Glasses Girl. That the possibility of, like, losing her anyways, like, it makes sense that that broke her. And, like, they kind of prefaced it with, like, the book where she was, like, scrawling out the new ending, and it sounded like it was, like, a happy ending she was writing, but it was, like, super chaotic when she stepped back to look at it. So I feel like I gotta give it a meh. Like, it's really falling victim to how much time they were limited to.
I gotta ask, because maybe I, like, wasn't looking at it just right. That book looked like it still had 10 more pages before it was over.
I was thinking that too.
Like, I feel like you're in the middle of the book and now you're writing a new ending for it. Like, get to the end of the book. Also, how do you not know this ending already? You said this was, like, your book that you loved for... You know what? I'm getting off the... Yeah, I thought this was a book that she, like, knew front to back constantly. But maybe I'm crazy.
Also, it's a children's book and they end with it dying? Are you kidding me?
That had to be the middle of the book.
It's like The Little Mermaid.
I don't know, man.
I was gonna say that's like old school fables or like old school nursery rhymes from like Germany. The what were those guys that made
Brothers Grimm?
Brothers Grimm.
Grimm,
I
indeed.
don't think that was the actual ending. I think that was just supposed to be like a sign of her like decaying mental state.
Yeah, but like it's just a weird logistic thing. I think for me.
The book is a metaphor.
Oh,
nothing else is.
Everything is a metaphor, but also nothing is a metaphor. Okay, I should actually talk about characters. I'm actually a yay here, because I actually think this is the one thing that the show is doing really, really well, is characters. Yeah, we are in a very condensed timeline, and not everything is making a ton of sense with our time frame in that, but I blame that more on pacing from the plot. category myself. That being said, they are interesting fucking people. I have to give them that. And the drama is interesting, and the interactions are something to watch. So, I mean, on that alone, like, I've mentioned the stuff about plot and how I think this is not going to give me a very satisfying answer to any of my questions, but at the very least, I have interesting characters to watch as I'm getting there. So, for characters as characters, I will give them a yay.
I'm kind of in agreement that I find these characters really interesting. I think that's really what drives the plot forward, is the interactions between them and just their mental stress. I don't know, it's interesting to watch. And there is a lot of drama, so I think the characters really help propel the plot overall. So I kind of have to give it a yay. I do have some problems with some of the characters. I agree with you guys that a lot of the development is rushed, and also, I don't know, I'm still somewhat bothered by, and it happened with the counselor now, where it seems like
she's not a good person.
Yeah, but it felt like she's getting redemption too. Am I crazy? I don't know.
I think part of the problem is that this show doesn't actually understand anything about mental health.
I feel like people who are just, like, fucked are just like, oh, but we were sad. I don't know. It's just like...
You know what? We did leave out a key part of the plot. The counselor literally tried to strangle Mato.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Twice.
Fired. Straight up fired. That first time. And you're like, it's a joke. I wanted her to, like, leave. I wanted her to leave that room, not say a word, and she's like, she took it as a joke. And then she immediately goes to, like, the teacher's lounge, like, hey, the counselor just tried to choke me out. Not even a lie. And then, like, 6 other people show up, like, yeah, she tried that on me, too. Like...
Yeah, I don't know.
I really, like, end of the day, she's fired and like, going...
Very
and she's,
true.
like, being put into a cop car. Like, series over.
I think that the counselor is a really interesting character, too. I think all of these characters are really interesting.
Interesting doesn't mean good person.
They're fucked up, they're
That's-
bad people,
yeah.
but they're interesting. But I just, like, I don't fully understand the way some of their arcs go. And maybe it is, like, a misunderstanding of mental illness and stuff like that, like you said, but it just, like, it feels weird to me. Or maybe it's the time condensed thing. I don't know. But
it's a combination.
It's a combination of things that bothers me. But I still think the characters are so fascinating and weird and memorable that I'm still going to give it a yay, despite my criticisms once again.
So, going off of that, I feel the reason that some of the stuff, like, doesn't make sense is part of the time constraints. Like, I feel like these characters wouldn't be quite as over the top about a lot of things if it wasn't so much of a time crunch. Because honestly, granted, I suppose, like, reactions or, like, stuff like this can definitely, like, occur, but it all feels very sudden for me because, again, it's, like, very quick. So I guess to me it doesn't necessarily seem quite as realistic. I would sort of prefer to see more of them go through their struggles, like, slowly over the episodes, and we slowly see, like, the damage that is done by what's going on. Because that at least would make me feel a little bit more for these people. Because I'm not feeling a whole lot right now. Which probably makes you sound very callous. But it's just like, I'm not here for the drama. Because the drama is just kind of like, what am I watching? If that makes any sense.
The drama is quite literally manufactured by the counselor.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just... Ugh. I don't know. I'm not really sure what to say about this. Because, like, in a certain context, this could all work very well. But for some reason with this, it just doesn't work. And I think it's just, again, yeah, like I've been saying, it's just because time constraints. But if this were a more longer drawn out series, I think it would get a higher rating. But because of, you know, where we're sitting right now, I'm probably just going to give this a meh.
I I think overall I like the characters. I don't think they're the most developed in the world, but I could at very least see where they're coming from in their own effed up way. Again, it's nothing too deep, but it's nothing that I would say is bad per se. It's just I do agree with everyone. If it was like, even if it was like a one core, a full one core of 12 to 13 episodes, you would have more time to develop them, make their dramas and their backstories more fleshed out. But yeah, with 8 episodes, you obviously got to keep the plot moving, and you can't take too much downtime, which is kind of a detriment when you have a show that's based on personal trauma and mental anguish, which you need to focus on that more. That's like your key theme, other than the action. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, I still find the characters somewhat interesting. I do sympathize with some of their struggles. So yeah, I'll give the characters a light yay.
I'll give the characters a yay. I think they're fascinating. Not good people, but sometimes those are the most interesting to watch. I like them. I want to see where they're going. They're all kind of crazy. Did anybody watch Rascal Does Not Love Bunny Senpai?
Yes, I love that show.
Not yet.
It was really good. Title is horribly misleading. I hate the title.
That's how they get you.
We'll make it look pervy, and then it won't be.
Exactly.
They should have titled it Adolescent Syndrome. That would have...
No, but that spoils the whole show.
But that's what it's about. Rascal Does Not Love Bunny Senpai gets disproven by episode 2.
Oh, so Rascal does love Bunny Senpai.
Yeah, he confesses his love to her, and then they're dating almost the entire show. It's so stupid. Anyway, I feel like this is kind of a darker version of that show.
Okay.
Well,
I don't know
I
if
need an explanation.
I don't know. Well, I don't know that I want to watch Rascal Fix Bunny Senpai now.
No. It's a good show. I highly recommend it. But Cece, we're gonna have to have next time we meet in private. We're gonna have to have a long conversation on how you came to that solution. So
it's just like
I don't think we're
people
gonna
and
see
their
Cece
mental
next week.
issues. So it's like if somebody took all the mental issues in that show and just like exploited them, he would get this show.
I think that's a bit of a reach.
You sound like you just explained Madoka Magica. Weirdly
yeah, no. This show is essentially Madoka Magica because it has character design that looks similar to Madoka Magica.
Oh
It's
my
got more
god,
than
the
that.
counselor is Cube.
And Mato is basically Madoka with dark hair.
I don't know if we should be having a category for this.
Put it back.
And also, apparently, Mato is also Homura at a certain point.
Well, she's also trying to take on all of the pain of someone else. That sounds like a Madoka thing.
Yeah.
That also sounded like
Is
a
Glasses
She's
not
basically
Sayaka?
Madoka. If Madoka and Homura had, like, a baby.
A baby?
Oh,
Yeah.
just what
You would get
Homura
Mato.
wants.
God, put it back.
Is
You're
Glasses Girl
welcome.
Sayaka then?
Ooh.
Sayaka was the red-haired girl.
That's Sakura. Kyoko. Sayaka is the blue
No.
one.
Sayaka was the red-haired girl in Blackrock Shooter.
Oh, I thought the mental breakdown was more her thing.
Is that not what Sayaka did when she got rejected?
Forget everything happened?
No, had a mental breakdown about it.
She did not have nearly as big of a meltdown as Glasses Girl.
Everybody had a
I'm
mental
not
breakdown.
talking about Glasses Girl. The
I'm
red-haired
talking
girl.
about Glasses Girl.
Well, having a mental breakdown in Madoka Magica meant you turned into a witch, so...
Yeah.
Kind of happened in this show too. She kind of turned into a witch.
Yeah, and I know the redhead sports manager person had that, but it was mostly off screen. Most of her shit. I mean, we saw a little bit. We got to get the full brunt of Glasses Girl, and that's why I'm saying she's Sayaka.
Gotcha.
What about the crazy
Also,
blonde chick?
she's extremely attached to someone that she just met. That's a very Sayaka thing to do. That's actually
It's
also
not
a
very
Homura
Sayaka
thing.
to do.
That's
Oh,
a
she's
very
with
Homura thing
Kyoko.
to
She's
do.
with
That's a
Kyoko.
Homura
We
thing.
know it. This might be Patreon content. Should we move on
This
to
is Patreon
everybody?
content.
Oh, also,
Yeah.
you asked
Chibi, did you give us your yay or nay for characters?
who
Or
Chariot.
whoever,
I gave-
Cece, it was
Yeah.
What?
you. God damn.
Chariot is Charlotte.
Chariot,
is the
are we-
blonde girl.
Oh. I thought for a
Okay.
second we were talking about Little Witch
No,
Academia.
no.
I'm like,
Cece
we're going a
asked
whole
Like,
you
who's the
long-
crazy blonde chick in
Yeah.
Madoka?
It's Charlotte.
Sure.
So advertising, I'm kind of a nay here, and I think this is kind of just an extension of what it was from the last time we talked about this. This might have been I'm blaming myself a little bit. This might have been a bad call for putting it in the action figure category, but I read something up about it that is like they designed the characters and made figures before they made the show, and maybe I was very wrong in thinking that.
No, I don't think you're wrong, because out of all of the merch that sells, it's definitely the figures that sell the most.
In fairness, I think that's a lot of things for a lot of different shows that don't immediately have like video game, card game, other alternate media.
I guess it's more of figures rather than action figures.
Yeah, like, well, I mean,
Every
Okay,
anime has
you know what?
figures, that's the
yes,
thing.
but to me, the
Let's-
thing that stood out was the idea that they made the figures before the show, and the show was there to advertise the figures. That's what stuck
Okay.
out to me as
So,
being
like,
more
let's
important
just
for this
acknowledge
category.
none of us are the target audience for this
Nope.
advertising.
We are
No.
This
not.
was meant to sell to horny guys. Like, you
Well,
guys have
I'm
seen...
one of them,
Yeah.
but most of
You're
them are
not
12,
into those
so it doesn't
underage
work.
girl titties, though.
Yeah, what titties? That's, no, again. I'll say this.
If they're underage, if they're
Hold
truly
up.
underage, they
Let's-
won't have those.
Let's hold up for a second. The guidance counselor's of age.
Yeah,
I'll go with that.
her design's pretty good.
She had a lot of butt crack these episodes.
Yeah.
But I'm still an A because I'm really confused as to what I'm supposed to be buying here. And maybe
You're
this was
supposed to
not
want
meant to
them
be
as
buying something.
waifus, and none of us are the type to be
Oh,
like, oh, my
no,
waifu, I'm
yeah.
gonna jack off over this. Like, it's fucking weird.
No, yeah, that's not for any of these ones. No. No. Yeah, I mean, as far as that's an issue. As far as the rest of the advertising goes, I'll wrap in our little this is a Madoka ripoff in this category, I guess, because if you're trying to sell me on the series as well, I watched this and I'm like, I could be watching Madoka right now and enjoying the plot more. So yeah, this is a nay for me for advertising.
All right, so I've kind of felt this since the beginning, that I don't feel like this show even belongs in this tournament. And I think that advertising is part of the reason why. I don't think that it's centered on selling the figures. Like, I know that was maybe what you were thinking. I don't know if I agree. And I just don't know that that's what this franchise is about.
This mostly feels like a criticism towards me.
No, I'm sorry.
You're absolutely right.
I
I should have done more research.
It's a little off. I feel like the genre is off.
But to be fair, I told all of you what these were gonna be, and someone who actually knew what the series was didn't tell me that this was not gonna be what I thought it was.
No, the
Regardless.
figures are, like, their main seller.
Okay.
I'm still gonna stand by. I just don't know that it belongs here. And I don't know that it's hard selling me on anything. Like, I feel like the series is more like an offshoot of just the Vocaloid and the figures and everything. Like, it's connected, but I don't feel like it is specifically trying to sell them. I don't know. Like, I feel like its aim is different. I don't know.
I'll tell you what it's trying to sell you. Xanax.
It's trying to sell you Xanax, it's trying to sell you boobs. I don't know, but it's...
We're trying to sell you boobs.
I just don't know.
I was talking about from the depression angle. I'm like,
No, I know what you're
I
talking
guess
about.
if that helps you get over your depression.
Like, I'm just saying, like, I just don't... Like, I really like the episodes and everything, but I feel like the advertising, it just doesn't work in, like, a similar way as the other ones do. I feel like it's just a different beast, I guess. So I'm just gonna have to give it a nay for that reason.
So, I'm also a nay. Would never want any of these characters as action figures, or figures in general. You guys know me. I've already bought a few figures, and these are not the figures that I would buy. And I think another thing for these is just, like, I would not even know that this show had figures to begin with, because, like, these just I don't know. These don't really seem like toys to me. I guess. Like, there's just something about this that is just... It feels more like it's a Madoka ripoff, rather than...
I will say this came out before Madoka.
Oh no, trust me, I know.
Wait, it did?
The figures did. Did the show come out before Madoka?
It was 2012.
The original movie that the series is based off of did come out before Madoka.
Oh, never mind to anything
I'm
going to
stand by it. I'm standing by it.
I will still say that Madoka's a step up, so it was an improvement. So, I don't know. I still think that this show is just, like, not really selling me on a lot of things. Not selling me on the games, not selling me on the manga. I don't know. I think if it's trying to sell me anything, it's not doing a very good job. So I'm gonna give it an A.
I kind of said this last time, but I guess to go off of everyone's point about the figures themselves, I do agree with Kozi that it's advertising the figures, like the actual figures that you would buy at an anime convention or online. I don't know. I personally don't have a need for figures. I mean, the only figures I've ever gotten were gifts, so that's just a personal thing. But again, I could see somebody having figures of Black Rock Shooter or some of the other characters. But yeah, as far as the actual show itself, it's an action show, and take it with advertising as you will for how action shows advertise the shows. I do agree to Al's point that it's not the same level of good advertising as stuff like G.I. Joe or Transformers, where exactly what the show is advertising and what the focus is on. But also what I said the last time we talked about it, this show makes me interested in the other incarnations of the show, because I know,
like the video game.
Well, not even the video game, but the 50-minute OVA that came first, which I hear tells a similar but somewhat different story. And then there was a sequel show that came out, I think, last year or 2 years ago, that actually involves the characters in the mysterious world. Like, Black Rock Shooter's the main character, and it follows the characters in that world. So, in that sense, it makes me interested in the franchise as a whole. So, I guess advertising is kind of a mixed bag, so it gets a meh for me.
Words are difficult. Okay. So I do agree that the product is selling is waifus, and I'm not into that. I'm not the target demographic here. Yeah, the only figures that I've gotten as gifts. I don't buy them for myself. I love them. They look so cute up on my bookshelf, but, like, I don't buy them for myself. So that's not working for me. But that's, like, a me thing. But this show does sell me on the franchise as a whole, like Envy was saying. Like, I'm very interested in the games and the other animations that were made off of this. I don't know if that counts, because that's not technically advertising, but I'm gonna count it anyway and give it a yay.
I'm gonna give it a meh. Like, again, like, it's advertising something, and I'm going to maintain we are not the target audience, because we are not sexualizing the teenage girls like they intended us to do. The whole point is to be, like, weird and fetishy about it, and it's really gross. I will give you all that. Like, it is so fucking gross that was the intention. But they obviously did it well because it was a very successful franchise. Obviously, it's still going. I would say, like, yeah, I'm more invested. Like, I actually read up on what the second season's supposed to be, and that's actually supposed to follow, like, the game more than this original story they came up with through, like, the OVA and the first season. But yeah, it's selling waifus, and we're not in the market for those, so meh.
Like, it does... Those are pretty scantily clad figures.
You know who would be in the market? That one kid who stood up when Blondie said that the whole class was trash, and he's like, "Oh, I'm in love."
Yes.
Yeah.
That's who they want to
I
sell
wanted
to.
stepped on.
That guy's a
That
raccoon.
whole
I love
class
him.
wanted stepped on. It was weird.
Like, I don't know. I feel like just all of, like, the guys I knew in high school, like, they all had so much Blackrock shooter merch.
And now
Because
they're all
they
on
were
a...
obsessed with her.
And now they're all on a list of can't be near a school.
Wow.
Well, you probably should be.
Okay. Before we go too far into that, Ian, do you want to take us into production?
Yeah, I mean, production, what is there to say except it still looks great. I mean, I don't really have any changes in opinion on that. I think the production is just as I felt it was originally, which was a yay. I think there were times when I noticed the CGI more than I did in the first 3 episodes. I don't know why that is. I think sometimes animation in general with animes, like, is really, really good the first 1 or 2 episodes, and then it, like, drops a little bit because they put all of their money into the first 1 or 2 episodes. So it might have dropped, like, a touch, but it's barely noticeable. It still looks really good. So I'm still gonna give it a yay.
I feel like I've talked about that before. That is absolutely a thing.
Yeah, it is a thing.
I will actually say, it's actually the opposite. They're putting all of their animation into the final episode.
Well,
That makes sense too,
wasn't this
but
one?
it still wasn't these. But yeah, it makes sense at
yeah.
the end and the beginning, you know.
I'm gonna give it like a light yay. I feel like the non CG animated portions are a little lacking, and mostly in the shading department. But otherwise, like, production is fine. So yeah, light yay.
Yeah, I give it a yay. I like the animation. I especially like the battle animation. Like again, I'm a water cooler, not a water cooler. I'm a armchair animator where I can't even imagine how time consuming it is, even with, CG to animate it frame by frame. And yeah, it always impresses me whenever an action sequence goes hard really well. And yeah, the action sequences do go hard. I'll give it that. But yeah, I enjoy the animation. I enjoy the dub cast. Because I watched this dub, and I had a good time watching it. It was a visual treat. Yay!
Yeah, also a yay. I like the animation. It's pretty. The fighting is pretty. What their world is kind of uncomfortable, but like they were going for that with its color schemes and like how the animation is different. The art style is different. It's supposed to feel like this is not home. And I think they did a good job with that.
I'm gonna be harsh on it and just give it a meh. Because while I do think a lot of, like, the production value is pretty amazing quality, it really hurt itself by trying to cram itself down into just 8 episodes. And I feel like that may be more of, like, a production thing than a plot thing. Because I don't think there was a reason for them to have only 8 episodes cleared. Like, it was already a pretty successful moneymaker at the time they made this.
I think a lot of times it's not so much the animation studio itself, it's the production committee ahead of them that finances and puts the team together.
Yeah, no, obviously it was them, but like I don't see why they would have made the decision to make it shorter than even a standard 12 episode anime. Like, I feel like those extra 4 episodes would have really helped.
Maybe for how they were trying to spread out the budget, particularly with CGI, because that can get kind of expensive.
Well, I feel like when we talked about this before, CG was actually less expensive than traditional. Because you just have to make the frame.
It's more upfront cost for, like, actually making the CGI assets. But so overall animating a scene with CGI is a little cheaper than animating traditionally.
Alright, then they really shouldn't have had any issues, because they'd already sunk that money in. They had the CG models from the game. So
Is this what the game looks like?
Huh?
Is this what the game looks like?
Sometimes. It depends on where you're at.
Might actually be kind of impressive.
Oh, so these are like cutscenes. That's like how cutscenes look?
Oh, cutscenes are cutscenes. I'm wondering like, if the actual gameplay would look, maybe not as dynamic camera-wise, but like look kind of like this.
Actual gameplay is 3D, like, not open world, but like dungeon crawler.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm wondering how easy it would be to port those assets from a game engine into an animating engine.
It would be the same thing.
Probably email your old roommate, try to find out.
They're already
I could ask
3D
Kate.
modeled and hooked up on a frame. So, like, I feel like that was a really dumb decision. And they should have just stretched it out just a little bit more. And it would have been even greater than it was.
I was kind of light yay here. I think a lot of it is staying consistent quality from the first episodes. I, like you, I was noticing a little bit more of the CG, and like some of it was looking a little awkward. I think they did do that thing where they were going to put it like right at the beginning and right at the end. We're going to have a sandwich of quality, but the middle is kind of like where we're going to pull back a little bit. But that's a bit of a problem here because that's also where the meat of the story is happening. So it's a little like, oh, this is interesting, but then it doesn't always look as good. Again, it's not bad, but it was just a little bit of a downgrade from the last time we watched this, it felt like. But everything else does still seem pretty good. Other than, I keep mentioning Madoka, and I'm like, I'd rather watch Madoka. Because these feel like Madoka fights. And you know. But outside of those feelings, which might not be an entirely fair comparison anymore, yeah, I'd say I'm a light yay here. So
Madoka would make a very fun game if it was done in the style of how Black Rock Shooter is.
There was one like that I can show you at some point, though I don't think it ever came out in America.
Well,
the one that was like
we
for the
never
PSP.
get anything fun.
Well, technically, Magia Record was a game.
Yeah, but that's like a turn-based thing, isn't it?
Yes, and also it doesn't play like that. It's like definitely more RPG, not even open world. It's also more like a visual novel as well.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the Madoka game, while sort of being a visual novel, also was more of a dungeon crawler.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm a light yay on production. And we move now into final thoughts. Chippy, you were talking. Why don't you keep talking?
Oh, final thoughts?
Yeah.
Overall, this series turned my brain to mush. Like if the girl with the chainsaw just took the chainsaw to my head.
Which one had a chainsaw? Oh, wait, one of their swords did turn into a chainsaw.
I will give this a meh, because I don't really know what else to say about it. Because it does have its good things. However, it could do it better. So.
Well, spoiler alert, I was really interested to see how this show ended, so I watched the last episode.
Dude, we keep telling you not to do that.
Well, again, I did not let that me knowing what happens in episodes 7 and 8 did not influence me on episodes 4 through 6. I did the same thing last year, or 2 years ago, with the Shonen Showdown, so I'm just gonna put that out there. But yeah, because I wanted to. Okay, let's pretend that it was a full core series. It was 12 episodes. I'd still be invested enough to watch the remaining 5 to 6 episodes because I do like the characters, and I do want to see I did want to see how the story they were telling was.
Yeah, like the fact that you went ahead, even like. With the possibility this wasn't going to continue, I feel like speaks for itself.
Yeah, and also, it's not like it was One Piece where it has 1,000 episodes. It's 2 more episodes. Like that's 46 minutes. Like, so yeah, it's a yay for me.
It's a yay for me. I liked it. I want to keep going. I want to find an old PSP so I can play this game. Or a dolphin.
I'm also a yay. I like Envy already know how it ends, obviously. I feel like these last 2 episodes are where it really shines. And there's definitely gonna be like a lot more plot dropping, so if this goes on, sorry, Chibs.
Womp womp.
I'm kind of a meh here, because I feel like I like a lot of what we're getting with character stuff. And I think a lot of the character elements are really interesting. But at the same time, I go back to what I said about the plot, and I haven't seen the next episodes in that. I don't feel like I'm going to get a satisfying answer or conclusion out of this. And
That is also very
this
fair.
it's one of those, like, things where I kind of have to question it myself of, like, okay, now that I've assumed that I won't get a good answer, if I did get a good answer, would I still feel like it's a good answer? And I'm trying to, like, take myself out of it every time that we kind of, like, go and watch these things or try to give myself the most chance with something. So if this moves on, I will do that and try my best. But at this moment in time, I'm kind of feel like this is going to be one of those, like, you are not going to satisfy any questions that I have here, and I don't think you have the time or the inclination to do so. And that's kind of comes a lot at it. I think there's a lot of good elements here, but it really draws back because even if you guys tell me that this ending is satisfying, I have to go with what I'm looking at here, and I don't feel like it's gonna... I don't think I care as much.
Well, from the questions you've posed, no, I don't think it's going to be satisfying for you.
Well, don't spoil it, but yes, this is a meh for me for the moment.
I don't think it's a spoiler to say at the very end they're not going to explain, like, how the other world came to be.
I don't even know how it came to be. Look, we will talk about this at another point. Yin, your thoughts?
I would say overall, if I'm looking at how much I enjoy this, I'm gonna give it a yay. I really enjoy the characters. I enjoy the plot for the most part. I have a good time watching this. I think it's very interesting. And sure, I'm maybe interested in the game and stuff like that. I think it's cool. So if I'm going strictly on that, I'm gonna give it a yay. I do have my problems, but I feel like they're not relevant to this question. So I'm just gonna give it a yay.
Okay. And any other things to say about this before we move into the battle, the showdown? I don't want to call it the showdown because that was the thing from the other tournament, but
The head-to-head.
I'll take that as a no. It's Zoids versus Blackrock shooter time. We move on into the plot category. Envy, who's getting your yay for this?
It's really easy for me. Blackrock shooter. I mean, Zoids was kind of episode of the week, but yet again, it was just kind of meandering to me. Whereas Blackrock shooter actually had development. It actually had, a sense of scale and purpose, at least in some ways. So yeah, Blackrock shooter.
Yep, Blackrock shooter. It actually had a plot.
Yep. It's Blackrock shooter. Like Envy said, like, it has something that, like, ties it together and driving it forward, whereas with Zoids, we're just kind of getting to that. I feel like it is a little unfair for these to be going head to head, where Zoids is really just starting and Blackrock shooter is kind of ending. So, like, they've really developed a lot of their points already, but, like, it just had more going for it.
Looking back on the categories of the things that I said that Blackrock shooter had a meh, and I said that Zoids had a light yay, but looking back on what my arguments for Zoids on that were, a lot of it seemed a lot more like I was giving my final thoughts of anticipation of what was going to be coming, as opposed to what maybe some of the actual meat of the episode was. So despite that, I'm going to be going Blackrock shooter for plot, because it did have a lot of plot. There's some problems with that plot, but decent enough plot.
It didn't have it.
It moved. It fucking moved. And yeah, Zoids did not move as much.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I felt like a lot was happening in Blackrock Shooter, and I was always interested, more on the edge of my seat. The other one, stuff was happening, but not... I don't know. It just wasn't happening in as much of a a plot-driven way, I guess. It was more episodic, so I think Black Rock Shooter had the more exciting plot. I'm gonna give it to Black Rock Shooter.
Black Rock Shooter, because it had a plot.
Oh my god, this is the first sweep we've had in a while.
We'd have to go back and check, but yeah, okay. Maybe. Black Rock Shooter takes plot. We move now into characters. Cece, you're leading us off. Who's getting your yay?
Black Rock Shooter. I enjoyed all of those characters. Zoids, I only liked a couple characters, and the 2 main characters I despised, so.
Yeah, I'm also gonna give it to Black Rock Shooter. Like I said, I don't personally like where a lot of the characters went, but I do think, like, they did a much better job at making them multifaceted, like, complex characters. Whereas in Zoids, a lot of their character doesn't make a lot of sense or actively contradicts what we were told they were like. And I'ma just throw this out there. I feel like Zeke is the most enjoyable part of that as a character, and I don't even like Zeke, so...
So...
Damn.
Thank you for joining us, Kozi. You will not be coming back for another podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, I gave Black Rock Shooter, said that all the characters were interesting, and it was interesting, like, seeing their inner dynamics and all that sort of stuff, and I said the exact opposite for Zoids, so I have to go with Black Rock Shooter for characters.
Yeah, Black Rock Shooter.
I will abstain.
Black Rock Shooter easily.
Okay.
Zeke's number 1, but yeah, Black Rock Shooter.
Yeah, despite Chibi's abstaining, it seems the Black Rock Shooter takes characters. We can move on now into advertising. Kozi, you're leading us off. Tell us who gets your yay.
So it's, like, I know I argue that Black Rock Shooter was very successful at marketing to their target audience, but it feels really creepy and uncomfortable. And, like, while I don't like this specific Zoids series, I do like Zoids. I had Zoids. So I feel like, you know, they're also very successful at marketing a toy in the franchise, and I bought them as a child, so...
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Zoids is still, like, cranking out new robots for us to enjoy. And the most that I could say that I was advertised to was a student counselor, or not student counselor, a teacher counselor. What's the...
She would be a student counselor.
School counselor. I don't want to say student counselor because that sounds like they're on the student council, which is also underage. So I want to say, I want to go with the school counselor, her butt crack. Which, admittedly, nice butt crack. But that's not enough to advertise me to get the rest of these fucking figurines. So I'm going with Zoids.
Yeah.
Now, if there were less scantily clad minors and more 20-plus-year-old butt crack, I might be going this direction a little more. But as is, we're not getting that.
There was more moms doing yoga.
Moms doing yoga. Yes. That is my demographics option.
All right, fair. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Zoids. For all the reasons I said, I don't like the advertising in Black Rock Shooter, mostly just because I feel like Zoids did it better. Yeah.
Zoids, because I would never feel compelled to buy anything or play anything from the Black Rock Shooter franchise, so yeah.
No matter how much butt crack they show you?
Yeah, I mean, while I was more interested personally in the world and characters of a Black Rock Shooter, if I had to be objective and say which one better advertises to its target audience of its actual product, then yeah, I would say Zoids does a better job advertising its, Zoids than Black Rock Shooter does to its figures. So yeah, I'd give it to Zoids.
Everybody else has picked Zoids, so I feel kind of obligated to.
We have to have just nothing but sweeps today?
Yeah.
All sweeps.
Oops, all
Peer
sweeps.
pressure. Oops, all sweeps. How do I justify this? Like, BlackRock Shooter was effective in advertising to its target audience, but Zoids, it was much clearer what they were advertising. And it wasn't kind of sketchy.
Can we get an honorary vote on, I think, the only merch any of us would buy from BlackRock Shooter? Her hoodie. I think it's a nice hoodie.
Hoodie?
Oh no!
Where was the
bring
hoodie?
up the hoodie.
Which hoodie?
Don't
Which
bring up the
hoodie?
hoodie.
BlackRock
What hoodie?
Shooter's hoodie.
Oh my god,
They
I
sell-
Hold up.
They
Hold up.
sell
I thought that was like
that
a
hoodie.
long jacket with a hoodie. Am I crazy?
You... What?
It has
Yes,
a
you're
hood.
crazy. Are those not the same thing?
I think there's a difference between a hoodie and a jacket with a hood.
No.
Regardless, it is a good jacket. I will agree.
So hold on. If I have a parka, that's a hoodie to you.
If it has
If
a
it
hood,
has a hood,
it's
yes.
a hoodie.
You
It
know
has
what?
a hood, it's
I already
I
had
have a blanket with a hood. It's a hoodie.
Hun, I already had
It's a
is a hot
smoothie.
dog a sandwich debate today. I'm not getting into this one.
It's
So we're moving on. Zoids
Please,
wins
no.
advertising. It's time to talk production.
Al, it's a
I'm
time.
leading us on. And no, we're done. We're done talking about all of that. I'm talking about production now. I have to give it to BlackRock Shooter here. It's a much better looking show. It has a much better dub. And I didn't mention this before. I do not like its theme song at all. But,
You don't like
know,
Vocaloid?
I can't hold that against it. Shut the fuck up. I hate that. I don't know what it is. And you guys can not understand me at all on this. I get it. I don't get Vocaloid at all. It's
No,
just-
I feel
don't
you
get
on
it.
that.
But I'll give it to
There's a
BlackRock
couple
Shooter.
of their songs that I'm like, I can get behind this. Most of the time, it's like, this doesn't feel... It's a little uncanny valley.
Yeah, no, I feel like there's something in my brain
going.
going like I'm not supposed to trust you. It's the same.
Like-
It's Uncanny Valley, but with voices.
Yeah.
There was a time before Vocaloid was auto-tuned to all hell,
Yeah.
where they sounded
Well-
like real people.
Well, Koz, this isn't it.
Yep. Yeah, I know.
Someone else talk. I feel like I'm gonna be talking about this too much.
Wait, what's the category again?
It's production.
Oh. Damn. Okay.
Category is
I-
Vocaloids.
Yeah. I prefer BlackRock Shooter here. I think Zoids was pretty mediocre in terms of production. I like the BlackRock Shooter theme song. It's pretty catchy. I know you got your problems with the Vocaloid, but I think it's a pretty good theme. And yeah, I mean, the battles look great, and I think the animation's pretty solid. Even though it didn't look as good as the first week, I think it still overall looks better than Zoids to me.
So, I'ma abstain again.
Chibi's just like, let me sleep.
Yeah, honestly, that actually is it, because my brain has stopped working at this point.
I mean, I know it's kind of hard, to compare a show from, what was it, 2012, 2013, when this show came out, whatever.
2012
It's
and
a show-
1999.
Yeah, that's hard.
Okay, so, but I guess to me, which show looked more visually appealing? Like, which show to me had the better aesthetic? Zoids, it's your basic, barren wasteland, barren, desert, because they were in the desert literally for 3 episodes in a row. Whereas
so they don't have to animate backgrounds.
Whereas BlackRock Shooter, the dichotomy of creating both the real world in Japan versus the, I guess, alternate world and the crazy shit they had to do, animating that and animating the trauma and the action sequences. Like, there was multiple different things they had to do for the production. So, based purely on that, I would give it to BlackRock Shooter.
BlackRock Shooter, it's prettier. Next.
I'm also BlackRock Shooter. There's a number of things you could compare on both of these, and it always comes out on top over Zoids, which, again, is probably a little unfair because of the age gap between them, but, compare the dub, compare the opening, compare the art style, the animation, the CG. it's all just better in Black Rock Shooter. Although I will say character design, I probably like Zoids better just because I don't like the sexualized, like, 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
That butt crack, though.
Who doesn't like a dinosaur? Or a robot?
Okay, we move into final thoughts now. Yin, who gets your yay?
Okay, this is so hard because obviously I prefer Black Rock Shooter in pretty much every category, if not every category. I just prefer it as a show. I enjoy watching it more. But I just think Zoids belongs here better. And as it progresses in the competition, I don't know how to compare Black Rock Shooter to Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something. I just feel like it's gonna become, like, weird. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't... It's like comparing apples to oranges for me. They feel like totally different shows.
Yeah, but apples to oranges would absolutely work in a fruit tournament.
Stop! I know what you're saying.
Sorry, I just broke your logic.
I just feel like it's going to be like, I'm going to be abstaining. Like, I don't know how to compare these two things, you know? So I just feel like it's hard because I really prefer one of them, but I really think the other one belongs here more in comparison to the other shows, just genre-wise. So I'm going to abstain for now, but if you guys need my vote, I will put it in.
I will say it doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah, probably doesn't.
Everybody just say their
doesn't.
thing. We'll deal with it when we deal with it.
So I'm like, I don't think my vote even matters.
I'm also abstaining because I have no cares one way or the other.
Black Rock Shooter. I'll just keep it simple.
Yeah, Black Rock Shooter is better overall.
I'm also gonna go Black Rock Shooter, but that's honestly just because, like, I want to see it conclude. I feel like, Al, you're gonna go Zoids, and I
100% I'm going Zoids.
Angle. I can see the angle you're going for there.
'Cause here's genuinely the thing, is that I actually said I think that Zoids is leading towards something that I'm interested in, and I feel like Black Rock Shooter isn't, and that, for final thoughts, that actually kind of works for what I'm saying. So yeah. But that doesn't fucking matter, does it?
It really doesn't, because Black Rock Shooter took
everything else. Almost everything else. They took enough to be
all
like,
yeah,
all but one. But yeah, so Black Rock Shooter takes final thoughts. They take the day, they move on. They are now the winner of the overall action figure category, beating out Zoids, Gundam, and Transformers. I want you all to know that you did that.
So what are we gonna do?
Okay. We can discuss this. So
can't we just watch the other two and just compare it?
First off, I wanna talk real quick just about these tournaments in general. One, I probably should have did a little more research on this one.
Yeah, I think so.
Because not only did we have this issue of there's only 2 episodes left of this series, but there was also the issue of I tried to get like Weiss Schwartz in this, and it turns out those episodes were only 2 minutes long a piece, so we had to drop it out for like Card Fight Vanguard or Build Divide
that
or something.
Fit,
Build Divide.
I think it was Build Divide. And you
Build
know what?
Divide,
I think Weiss would have had an actual fighting opportunity.
Well, for being so short, and everyone's just like, yeah, it's short. Who cares? We don't have to watch anymore. But to be fair, that's almost too much of an advantage at a certain point.
Maybe.
So, yeah. Clearly, next time we do a tournament, I gotta do a lot more research, and we gotta prepare this a lot more in advance, and this was not the case. Had I been more prepared, I probably would have done the second season of Black Rock Shooter that's 12 episodes.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been a better idea. So, let's talk.
It might have not made sense.
Maybe not. Maybe it's its own encapsulated thing. I have no fucking clue.
I think if you were doing the second season, you wouldn't have been able to put it in here at all, though. Because the second season's definitely more an advertisement for the games.
Okay, but here's a question, because this could actually be relevant and helpful. Is the second season an actual second season or its own thing?
It's its own thing. It's going off of the games. God
damn it, because I was going to say, hey, let's watch episodes 7, 8, and 1 for the next time this thing comes up. Which is honestly the only way that I could think we could do this for it to continue on, because if it beats out another show, it goes into the final. And then we have to watch something.
We could watch the OVA.
Yes, one OVA.
How long is it?
It's
50
50 minutes.
Okay, so it's
So
two
it's like
episodes.
2 episodes.
Yeah, but we need 3 or 4.
I don't know. It's stuck in a pickle.
We're fucked no matter how we go. So how do we want to fuck this pig?
I think it would be okay to watch the last 2, and if it goes into the finals, like, pick some episodes from the second season. Just to be like, what the fuck was that?
I think at that point we'd have to just go with episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So is that how we want to go about it? We can go about it that way.
Let's be crazy.
No.
Let's do 10, 11, and 12.
I'm not doing any more than we have to here.
No.
Let's
do
kind
the
of sick
last
of a lot
3
of it.
instead of the first 3.
Then it makes absolutely no sense. It immediately loses. It should at least have a fighting chance if it's made it this far.
What if you just do the OVA and then the first episode of the second season?
Okay, we're just making it more and more confusing as we keep
never
going. Can we, look, hey, how about we talk about Zoids? Anyone have any final thoughts on Zoids before we drop its ass?
Goodbye, Zeke. We love you.
You need to explain why some are sentient, but some are just husks.
So, about that. So I was saying that all Zoids were semi-sentient. Not entirely true. Original Zoids, the wild Zoids they're talking about, are wild organic metal creatures, essentially, that were on this planet before humans got there. The Zoids we see now that they're piloting are man-made Zoids built after the wild Zoids.
That's
They're,
kind of
designed
like
after them.
fucked up.
Yeah, no, it's extremely, yes. That's an adorable cat you just threw up there.
The Zoids are
listen,
watching
guys.
us run around in their metal carcasses.
No, they're not carcasses. It's like, if I see, it's like if you have a dog and then you make a stuffed dog out of felt or whatever. But that it can shoot people.
No, I think they are both metal. So it would be making a flesh dog.
A flesh dog.
Taxidermy.
Okay, fine, if you want to go with that.
I really thought it was going to be they took the corpses of the Zoids and were piloting them.
Yeah. So Zeke is what a real, wild Zoid would be.
So
They're
why,
like a fully sentient, fully robotic, you can't pilot me kind of creature.
if the pilotable ones are
More or less just
man-made.
man-made.
So they're not actually living, why do they have a self-heal capability?
Super technology of the future, nanobots, I don't know. How do you have a living machine from with the
how?
normal Zoids? You have to go with some sort of weird, everything's made out of nanobots, whatever their explanation at the beginning of the first Transformers movies was. I don't fucking know.
Okay.
I thought it was kind of like self-healing mats.
I do actually have a final thought about Zoids.
Sure. We should have gone
should
with
watch
New
New
Century.
Century.
Yeah, it's a great show. It's a great show. We really should have watched that. We should have watched the second season of Black Rock Shooter instead of this. We should have watched Zoids New Century instead of this. You know what? We have
Some
a lot of
choices were made.
Yeah, some choices were made, some mistakes were made. And I think what we've ultimately learned is next time we have a tournament, we're going to do a lot more research beforehand and figure out how this is all going to go down.
Well, we got 32 shows to pick from for the next one we've got planned.
Oh, careful.
Check
Don't
episode count.
Don't make
Don't
everybody
spoil.
anticipate too much just yet, because we have no idea what's happening. Anything else about Zoids, or?
Not Zoids, but Yin, you almost convinced me to not vote Black Rock Shooter for Final Thoughts.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm glad I almost
Point.
convinced someone. But it's a good show, though. But
It is a good show, and I want to keep watching it.
Yeah, true.
It's like, do
Me
I vote
too.
against you simply on the principle of it?
Well, would you be more liable if it wasn't specifically a figure category?
See, that's kind
Since
of the
it
thing.
does
I
have
think
other stuff in the franchise.
Yeah,
All
if it was
that being
maybe
said-
a video game category.
well, we don't specifically
like-
have a video game
I
category.
feel like it's
weirdly enough.
like,
Yeah.
Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or stuff like that, where I don't feel like any one thing is advertising another. It's just a franchise,
I understand that, but
Yeah.
when I get
every
back
show
to
has figurines, but
Yeah,
the action
exactly.
figures feels like something different.
I know. But I'm also then you're having trouble like finding what are the figurine shows other than Zoids, Gundam, and Transformers.
But those are figurines. Those are definitely trying to advertise figurines. That's why I feel like they are like different than this one. Anyway,
I guess. It feels wrong that all three of those.
You know what? I feel like we've talked about this and we've all given our points of why we feel this should or should not be here. The point is, it's here, and it's moving on to the fucking semifinals.
At least it's fun. At least it's fun to watch.
Okay. If Blackrock Shooter ends up going to the finals for whatever reason, we should just replace it with Zoid's New Century. Just bring it back around.
Just burn that bridge when we get to it.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on next week, Al?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kozi. Let me tell you what's going on next week. We're going to decide the winner of the card game category when Card Fight Vanguard goes up against Yu-Gi-Oh! And then we're going to see who else is going to the semifinals, and we're going to move on to our other categories. This is going to go a lot faster than the preliminaries, I'll tell you that much. Hallelujah! And we'll do that. When we do that, we'll see you guys next week for that. Get your decks ready. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like, and if you haven't already, check out some of our previous episodes, our daily gaming videos, or our parody series Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!